So yeah, delighted to chair this panel today with a great group of guests. So what we're going to do is basically have each of the guys introduce themselves, a little bit about what they do, about their perspective on AI, just to set a kind of foundation, and then we go into some questions around hype versus reality. So start off with yourself, Stephanus.
Thanks, Brian. So I'm Stephanus Meiring, a VP of Engineering for Runway. We're a fashion e-commerce platform. We're focused on rental, resale, and subscription models for fashion. We're tech-led, and we've built our own logistics stack, our own warehouse systems, and customer-facing platforms. What I do is I lead our platform engineering organization. So software delivery, cloud, infrastructure, observability, quality, and application operations. So making sure that our stuff runs and runs well. My mission is to make great engineering teams faster, make it safer to deliver things to production, and make it more reliable. I love removing friction for engineering teams. My perspective on AI is it's exciting, and I know we had a talk with a magic wand, but it's not magic. Right? It is exciting. What we do in Runway is we don't start with the AI and the tool, we start with the problem. And where we found success with AI is reducing the manual toil. And so it goes without saying, AI is here to stay. We are aggressively looking at AI and investigating where we can best apply that across our engineering workflows. We are a consumer-facing product as well, so we're looking at that, like consumer-facing AI and bots and that type of stuff as well. So.
Excellent. Well, we'll dig into some of that and I'll go to the later questions. Thank you, Stephanus.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yvonne. I'm the Senior Innovation Catalyst in the PorterShed. For anyone who isn't aware of PorterShed, we're a dynamic innovation hub right in the centre of Galway. We have, I think, 60 odd companies in there at the moment. The majority of those would be Indigenous tech companies. My job is to lead out on strategic initiatives that's going to help those companies grow and scale, and to give them the wraparound supports that will really help them succeed. We're not the AI experts, but we know who the AI experts are, and we leverage those people to help our startups reach their potential. We're doing some really exciting initiatives at the moment. We've got one program where we're the regional lead called the AI Navigator, and it's for SMEs who want to go through that digital transformation piece. It's a 3-year program, and we have companies come on board for a year's time. That's a really exciting one. And our brand new one, which is closing on the 2nd of June for applications, is the AI Venture Board. So this is the first accelerator in Ireland, specifically focused on AI startups, but also innovation units within SMEs. It's a 12-week program. We've had lots of workshops, mentors, we've got trips to San Francisco and Paris coming up on us. So if you're aware of anyone at all who is building and would like to get to commercialization stage, please let them know what's happening.
Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, I was in the PorterShed last week and it was see people pushing that, so yeah, it was super initiative. Fair play. Ihsan, same to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ullah, an assistant professor here in School of Computer Science, University of Galway. I am a computer scientist by profession, and my main area of research is designing lightweight neural network. So it's not from now where everybody is thinking that models are bigger and they are very heavy. It was from my PhD when I started back in 2013. The moment ImageNet or AlexNet came, I said, okay, there are 66 million parameters, we need to do something. Otherwise, if the concept or the vision of people, ideology that deeper and bigger model will give us better accuracy, this will explode certain time, and that's what we are looking at today. So throughout, that was my vision, to reduce the sizes of the model. But that's about me. In terms of our organization, what we do, we are trying to, in the current era of AI or generative AI, we are trying to equip the resource or human resource with the skills that they can fulfill the gap that is there, or they can be skilled enough to be not redundant, to be skilled for the new emerging tools and techniques and technologies that are coming. We have programs in School of Computer Science, MSc, AI, Artificial Intelligence, Data Analytics, Adaptive Cybersecurity. All of these programs are doing two things. One, we are not letting them forget the baselines, the principles of AI and machine learning, because that is important, and that is when they learn will be the difference between just our students and other, because it will not be just reading a blog or generating code with large language models, because a time will come when that will be stopped, and people will be looking for students or researchers who can think innovative, far more than just applying those code. So this is the workforce that we have a vision to develop, prepare in Galway, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. So first question, like the theme is reality and hype. So we'll start off with reality. Based on your experiences, the experience within your organization, what can you do now that you couldn't do 2 or 3 years ago? And maybe you might be able to share a couple of examples, maybe there's some specific examples that you have, Stephanus, on what you guys are doing.
Yeah, specifically looking at kind of the areas that I'm focused on, like internal developer productivity and tooling there. I would start off by saying not doing what we couldn't do before, but maybe augmenting and making it more productive. So we're using code assist tools, GitHub Copilot, and that's specifically useful for kind of helping engineers be more productive and write code. I think it's better at writing something completely from scratch. We have found that it's not as good working maybe on some of our existing code bases. I've personally found it more valuable exploring architecture and design and having this detailed discussion with ChatGPT or Claude or whoever on what the best design is, but what that requires is an in-depth knowledge of what I want and really helping with research and development. So that's kind of, in terms of my area, what we're looking at is those developer productivity toolings. And we have found some really good value there. One of the things we're looking at the moment and exploring is using agentic AI in some of our incident and issue workflows. And we've been using Google's Notebook LM and uploading our policies and procedures and all of that in previous case studies. And then you can query it for if something new happens. And it was amazing having used these conversational AIs for a lot. So I shouldn't have been surprised at the power. I was amazed at what that could do. And that really helped us. And we're investigating and working with Google on some of that stuff to automate some of that, because I think there's some real value there that we can get from it. Another one that it's really helped us in is in our compliance and process and policy and documentation around that, and automating some of that workflows, specifically around Jira. We have just an example from last week. One of my managers was looking at how we can automate our change approval board process. And that's something that would take you weeks to get. Within an hour, he had a process, he had it automated, and we have policy documents that met compliance standards.
Yeah.
It is amazing what you can do in that. And then of course we are a customer facing company, as I said, so there's a lot of things that we're doing there. I know a few years ago, one of our projects won the ITAG award for technology, I think. It's the fit and fit prediction algorithm, so there's a lot of investigation going on there. AI-powered search and discovery on our site was really, really valuable. So on the consumer side, we're doing a lot as well. But what I would say is these things help us be more productive and effective in the work that we do on a daily basis.
Did you guys experience any pushback from engineers? Have you found it hard to get engineers to lean in to use the tools, or has been generally characterized that?
Yeah, especially when we started doing the coding, the code pilot study, and we used a few others as well.
Yeah.
Engineers was really asking to be involved, but very fast we did get feedback, and this is real feedback across our whole engineering population of 150 people.
Yeah.
It's not there yet.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough yet.
Yeah.
You could look at it as, and it is amazing, but you could look at it as a junior to mid-level assistant.
Yeah. We'll get to our hype in a second. Ihsan, same to you. So like, what kind of stuff are you doing, even on the teaching the students' perspective? Like, what kind of stuff are you doing that you couldn't have done a couple of years ago? Or any examples you might be able to share with the guys?
So, in terms of teaching, I would say the first of the thing is that it's not the traditional teaching anymore. One needs to be dynamic. Every teacher, every lecturer, every school needs to be dynamic, and that's what we are trying to do, because we need to adopt new things. And as I mentioned, we not only show the code or teach them the code, but we also teach them state of the art.
Yeah.
And we are not the traditional teaching that once lecture is prepared and that will be delivered multiple times. So that is, in terms of what we can do in the current era, I would say the inference designing, the lightweight nature or the edge AI is something that is key, that what previously was not possible, and now with the techniques like LoRa supporting a lot and helping. Another thing I will say, this new era gave us is the ability to generate synthetic data and to guide us how to mitigate the situation where you have hurdles, or for example health data previously was mentioned. So previously, if health data acquiring was a challenge. Now with certain GANs or now diffusion models or LLMs, you can generate certain synthetic data that is even the clinicians are surprised for it, and that can be adopted. That is according to GDPR, and that's somewhat what we are currently doing in the school to support our clinicians and others.
Yeah, I can imagine that will give a lot more opportunities for students to apply things that they might have been able to apply before for lack of data. So I can see that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What we do is to interact, for example, with the clinician or with the industry, take some samples, and then we tell, okay, this is something, and now there is, for example, Gemini.
Yeah.
What can we do with it? Let's generate certain, and then, for example, we teach them prompt engineering, how to efficiently prompt them.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, adaptable and dynamic. So, with the current,
we're going to be in a dynamic state for the foreseeable future, I think. Same to you, Yvonne. So, any examples of you guys? I know that you're not coming at it from the technical perspective, but as you thinking about the program that you guys are doing, or even what you're observing within the company's PorterShed.
I think it's really exciting to see how rapidly it's been evolving. If I think back even this time last year, I asked him to help me with a speech for President's Day at the club, and it generated something that was so overly enthusiastic, overly positive, really full of energy. I'm like, this is an audience of predominantly 80-year-old Irish males. I'm like, no.
We don't do hyperbolic.
I tried to really tried to re-prompt it a bit then and go, based on Irish culture.
Yeah.
That was even worse. Oh, they got the Vigar and the gods, the top of the mornings to you, so I totally gave up. And to see it evolving from that into now being able to read tone and emotion.
Yeah.
So I think even that piece alone is very exciting, where you can learn your voice and you can actually brainstorm with us. In terms of the companies in the PorterShed and the startup ecosystem, it's really reducing that barrier to entry now. What we're starting to see with startups is if you're a non-tech vendor, you no longer need to bring in a technical person right at the beginning. You can use the no-code coding systems to help you develop out that minimum viable product. You don't need a marketing person. You can now produce really effective and powerful presentations and pitch decks without having a marketing designer that you need to pay a huge amount of money to. We're seeing that the startups can get much further with less funding because of that. And I think it's really going to open up that world to a lot more people who might have considered they wouldn't have been able to do in the past.
Yeah.
Because that barrier is now gone.
Yeah, it's actually something that I spend a lot of my days talking to enterprises around what this stuff can do. And one of the things I talk about a lot is about differentiation, and speak about it from a defensive lens and an offensive lens. But the defensive lens is the barriers to entry, the competitive moats are disappearing left, right, and centre. So for the startup ecosystem to come in with a challenging mindset, and as you say, needing less money. There is a lot of talk in San Francisco around how venture capital in itself is the whole structure of it is changing because less money is needed. So plenty of good stuff, and there's also plenty of hype. It's the hypiest of hype. So just maybe a segue from Yvonne to you and that one stuff as well.
Yeah. In terms of creating things, like just recently, what I was able to do to teach myself some Terraform and things like that, I actually created a whole framework to handle feature flags and things like that. I know nothing about Terraform. I have a little bit of did a bit of engineering in my life. But I was able to create that very quickly, very fast as an MVP. But this is with my background and the thing that I'm looking at and where I'm coming from is, and I always tell this to my engineering teams, creating something is easy. Writing code is not the most difficult thing in the world. It's operationalizing it and put it into production, running it at scale, at the level of reliability that you need. So that is the thing that I'm looking at and I'm saying, hang on a minute, we as an industry have learned these lessons over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Looking at, let's take something like microservices as an example. Everyone jumped in and wrote these distributed systems and they could talk to each other and all of that, and then we took 5 years to figure out how to run that stuff properly. So as an industry, we have learned these lessons and it looks like we forget them, right? We unlearn the good things that we've learned from other areas. So the one thing that I hope we learn from this and is not just very quickly create stuff, but make sure that we build in these good engineering, solid engineering practices from the start.
Yeah.
And another thing that I'm currently struggling with is the over-promising of, you can just plug and play these things. Oh, just take this thing, just throw it in there and it'll help you do everything. It is not. That vendor promise, and we're seeing that in real life, that vendor over-promise of just drop this model in and your recommendations will be better, is not. In reality, you need clean, structured data. You need the engineering cycles to integrate that. You need the monitoring, the tuning. I remember with our AI search implementation, we had to tune that thing for weeks until it started giving us good results.
Yeah.
And again, something that we tend to, as an engineering discipline, tend to forget. How are we testing these things?
Yeah.
You know, and my engineering director is over from the States this week, and we had multiple meetings with our ML teams to talk through how are we verifying and testing these.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like, from what we can see, that the industry has solved that yet.
Yeah.
And that is really if we want to put something into production that is reliable and we can trust and put in front of our customers, testing is an integral part of that. And before we get mass adoption of this, we would have to, as an industry, we will need to solve that problem.
Yeah. It is proof of concept purgatory out there. Like people that are standing up proof of concepts and then no ability to get them into production. Like on the overpromising from the pre-trained models, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Because they're so amazing, but they still overpromise that it can do stuff that it can't do. There's no need for it. Same question to you, Yvonne. Where do you think that the hype is, and what's being overhyped, or what are you hearing that's being overhyped? What's your perspective?
It's interesting. I actually tried to get it just to tag all my emails there a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't even until after me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, get rid of the time-consuming work I don't want to do,
Yeah.
and then we could hear the stuff. I think where it's been overhyped, I actually had a founder recently say they've now added the word AI to their pitch deck because that's what they feel VCs and angels are looking to see. And you spoke about the differentiator.
Yeah.
I think people are mistaking just adding a bit of a plug and play AI piece onto what they're doing rather than truly having AI embedded as part of their solution or platform or product. It's very easy to see through the people who are just adding AI as the buzzword because they think that's the thing to do, and they're not getting the investment. If they haven't done their customer discovery and they haven't got that product market fit, it doesn't matter how many slides AI is on.
Yeah.
They're not going to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that that's understood. One of the reasons we're doing the AI Venture Board is to bring out those companies who truly have an AI-driven product, not just as an add-on.
Yeah.
You know, we want to see them coming through to show, as proof of concept, this is what AI can actually do. This is how far people can bring it when it's used properly, when it's engineered properly, when it's designed properly. We can create these brilliant solutions that we can then scale globally. Yeah. And I think that's going to be key going forward in the future, that it's not just used as that little add-on piece.
Yeah. And it's actually not only the startups and younger companies that can be accused of that, it's actually the older, well-established companies that are putting a bit of lipstick, AI lipstick on whatever they're doing, and it doesn't have no favors either. Same question to you, Ihsan.
So, in terms of academic perspective, the hype that I see are three, I would say. One, AI can do everything, and we should apply AI on everything. So, this is based on my experience previously as a senior research data scientist. When I was, company used to come and give us data, and they wanted to use AI. And when I sit with them and ask them to explain what you want to do or what is your business about, it would not need AI at all. Maybe just replace articles, simple software engineering and things. So that's knowledge that I learned over there. I transferred to a student that look, when you go, it will not be always the scenario where you need to use AI. So don't directly jump to AI. That's the first rule. Understand the problem and then try to do something. The second hype that comes is that LLM has done everything, and what should we do, or is there anything else to be done? But there is a good saying that, in general, I was reading that the LLMs or ChatGPT has 10 to the power 13 tokens, somewhat more than few trillions of tokens, and everything. And if we every token is like a word. So if a human person in their working life, if say one human person cannot read all the tokens that are there. This is just only the textual data. On the other side, when I was reading, a baby in their first 4 years learn more than that because they are learning multimodal. So it's not just text, there are vision language models are coming, but when we talk about vision, it changes completely because it's not a 2D or it's not 3D. There are multi-dimensional and everything comes with their own complexity. So there is a lot of work for the students or for the researchers to do. So nothing has finished, don't worry. There is a lot to do, and same is for the industry, that you have a lot of opportunities to work on. The final point in the hype is that, or as an academic that I would like to highlight is that LLM is there, but it put a lot of responsibility on us, which people miss. As an academic, I always promote responsible usage of AI. It starts from the domain understanding and then going towards which model, which data you are using, how you are using, where you are using. Are you understanding that the data being used for pre-training is actually adaptable for this problem or not? Because we are working on one project where we are seeing bias from data to the model prediction. And in that we are proposing standards or rules for responsible usage of AI in the form of data model and linked data space cards, where we are promoting that for every model, for every data, for every application, you should have a card which not only just say it's very good, but show the limitation that when it was developed, what was it? What is the context when it was developed?
Yeah.
Because in future, anybody who will be using, they should understand before adopting it.
Yeah, I think that in deciding on use cases and what to do, it's being really highly bounded on what you want the use case to do and what's the underlying data that's going to enable that use case. And also, someone mentioned it earlier on, have evaluation frameworks. You referred to it there, Stephanus. It's like we've forgotten the discipline around testing and verification and evaluation and those types of things. And some of the stuff that we're seeing people attempt to put into life, it's not even close to being ready. So, with that grounding on reality and hype, let's pitch ourselves forward. And we won't go too far. So pitch ourselves forward into 2030. A few years away, 5 years down the road. I'll ask you to look at it through two lenses. One, what do you think that we're talking about now is going to happen, will happen? What do you think that people are talking about now is going to happen, won't happen?
Very interesting question. Taking over our jobs is not going to happen. That's AI replacing.
Because you're a Terraform expert now as well.
Yeah, I'm a Terraform expert now as well. Yeah, replacing engineering jobs or an autonomous system just completely running something. Not in 2030 in any case. At some point maybe, but I do think creativity, that context, that cross-functional thinking, that is a human strength that I have yet to see. Now, I'm not an AI expert. We are consumers of what the AI experts will eventually create. But what I do know is this is probably the most revolutionary change that we will see. I've only been in my working career for 5 years. I'm very young. In my career, in any case, this is the biggest change. And as an individual or a company or in research or academia, we have to have a stance and we have to have an opinion and you have to have a plan around AI. You have to have a strategy. You have to get on the bandwagon. Yes, the hype is real, but the value is there. Yeah. And it is ready to get the value from that. I believe that developer workflows, I can already see it.
Yeah.
There's going to be such massive advances in that space. The way we develop software will change.
How do you think that will manifest itself?
The boilerplate code and all of that will be easy. And I mentioned that before when I was using it. I was more of the architect.
Yeah.
I knew the context of the bigger system that I wanted this thing to be in, and I was able to know, hang on a minute, I don't want that pattern, go this way. So I think that's where it's more systems and design thinking rather than writing the code itself.
Yeah.
That's the skills that we would have to learn, and how do you interact with, and how do you engage with these LLMs and agents and whatever the clever people is going to give us one day. How do you engage with them to be able to create that? So definitely engineers, their roles will change. It will still exist. We have to solve the verification and validation, but I've yet to see that. I think there's massive space for somebody who wants to really get into that.
I absolutely agree with it.
And then customer-facing experiences is going to drastically change. We're already seeing shopping bots and recommendations and bots that just fills your car ready for you to just check out.
Are you talking within the Runway context, or
generally in the industry we're seeing that, and it's a trend that we are very keenly looking at and looking
so
at.
you think there'll be a substantial customer experience and interaction change?
Absolutely, yeah. For example, for us in the fashion space, the styling bot, and being able to prompt it and say, I'm going to a vacation.
Conference.
I'm going to a vacation in Hawaii, as opposed to in Ireland during the winter. Your fashion needs to be slightly different when you do that, and that bot having that context and being able to style and know your preferences and all of that. There's massive potential there. It's something we're actively looking at. Businesses that integrates AI smartly, they will have a competitive advantage. Absolutely. But for me, it's not yet there where, as a consumer of AI solutions, I can just take something and drop it in.
Yeah.
The engineering cycles, the engineering effort to integrate that into our existing systems.
Yeah.
I would say for some companies, without that expertise, it's a limiting factor.
Yeah.
And again, an opportunity for people to come in and facilitate that.
Yeah. Ihsan, I'll put the same to you. What's your crystal ball tell you?
In 2030, that's one of the perception that is currently, I think, is that at the rate we are moving, or at the rate the generative AI or general AI is moving, we might have artificial general intelligence by 2030. But in one way, if irresponsibly we move, we might go there, but it's hard because for general intelligence, there are 4 things you can say: understanding, planning, and a couple of more generalization.
Yeah.
So if you look at the current LLMs, they hardly do any of that.
Yeah.
And for that, if we hear about from the Google head, Sam and other, they said the data is finished with them to process it. So from where will they get the general intelligence? So I will say we might be proceeding towards that, but we might not be in AGI by 2030. But
do you think simple reasoning tasks like to do specific jobs and book my flight and book my holiday and those types of...
Exactly. Exactly. So I would say to move there, I would say we will have to do many other tasks as well to do for example, these are good, they will have no doubt a lot of positive impact on the society, on the environment, for the health and well-being of the society and the nations. But we must not forget that it also has a side effect, the environmental impact of training these models, the societal impact, so the limitation of them. So we need to think on that as well, and there is a lot of work we need to work on and move towards 2030. So no doubt there are a lot of opportunity for businesses for improvement, but also we need to move slightly responsibly towards that.
Super. Yvonne, last word with you. What's going to happen?
What's going to happen? I'm hoping, Stephanus, you're right. I'm hoping agentic AI can take away all the life admin, stuff I don't want to do that more so I'm hoping that's all gone and I can be my creative, happy self. What I'm really looking forward to, I think where AI can really shine is particularly around research, and specifically with my background as a former sports fanatic, there's very little research done on female athletes and female population in general. And I feel that AI can accelerate a lot of this research now, and we can actually start to get to the bottom of use cases like why are women getting 80% more ACL injuries than men? Basic, simple things like that that right now we don't know. So I really hope we get to the point where we can overcome some of the regulatory pressures around that and use it more in a medical sense to be more cohesive. I think one of the things we haven't, that I don't hear much of, I heard it for the first time last week, but actually I came across it about 4 or 5 years ago, is the educational system is going to completely need to change. Rote learning is no longer what we should be teaching our kids. They used to be able to Google it anyway. Now they can use ChatGPT to write their assignments for them. That cannot be picked up as plagiarism either, because it's not plagiarism. It's created from scratch. What we need to be teaching the kids now is the soft skills, the critical thinking, the problem solving, not how to memorize a bit of text that they can get at the touch of their fingertips on the phone. So I think that educational piece is going to need a huge overhaul and rethink and a total systematic change by 2030.
I totally agree with you that children myself that are, my eldest child is just doing her junior cert now, and you see what they're learning, and you're like, what's the point? Or what's where is this going to go? So super interesting. So the guys have me on a strict deadline here. I'm 50 seconds over. Tell you, dude. If we could get a round of applause for our fantastic guests.